Hello. So we're going to start our next reading of the Tale of Despereaux. We just learned about Miggery Sow in the last reading that I did. Poor girl. I still feel so bad for her with the cauliflower ears and how she kept getting hit in the ears to get that. Uh, so, chapter 26 is royalty. When Mig turned 7 years old, there was no cake, no celebration, no singing, no presents, no acknowledgement of her birthday at all other than Mig saying, "Uncle, today I am 7 years old." And Uncle saying in return, "Did I ask ye how old ye were today? Get out of my face before I give ye a good clout to the ear." A few hours after receiving her birthday clout to the ear, Meg was out in the field with Uncle's sheep when she saw something glittering and glowing in the horizon. She thought for a moment that it was the sun, but she turned and saw that the sun was in the west, where it should be, sinking to join the earth. This thing that shone so brightly was something else. Meg stood in the field and shaded her eyes with her left hand and watched the brilliant light draw closer and closer and closer until it revealed itself to be King Philip and his Queen Rosemary and their daughter, the young Princess P. The royal family was surrounded by knights in shining armor and horses in shining armor, and atop each member of the royal family's head there was a golden crown. And they were all the king and queen and princess, dressed in robes decorated with jewels and sequins that glittered and glowed and captured the light of the setting sun and reflected it back. Gore, breathed Mig. I think gore is kind of meaning like gosh. The Princess P was riding on a white horse that picked up its legs very high and then set them down very daintily. The P saw Mig standing and staring, and she raised a hand to her. "Hello!" the Princess P called out merrily. "Hello!" And she waved her hand again. Mig did not wave back. Instead, she stood and watched, open mouthed, as a perfect, beautiful family passed her by. And there she is. And there they are, riding along. And there's poor Meg just staring. "Pa," called the princess to the king. "What's Papa?" called the princess to the king. "What is wrong with the girl? She will not wave to me." "Never mind," said the king. "It is of no consequence, my dear." "But I am a princess, and I waved to her. She should wave back." Mig, for her part, continued to stare. Looking at the royal family had awakened some deep and slumbering need in her. It was as if a small candle had been lit in her interior, sparked to life by the brilliance of the king and queen and the princess. For the first time in her life, reader, Mig hoped. And hoped is like love, a ridiculous, wonderful, and powerful thing. Mig tried to name this a strange emotion. She put a hand up to touch one of her aching ears, and she realized that the feeling she was experiencing, the hope blooming inside of her, felt exactly the opposite of a good clout. She smiled and took her hand away from her ear. She waved to the princess. "Today is my birthday," Mig called out, but the king and queen and the princess were now too far away to hear her. "Today," shouted Mig, "I am 7 years old." Chapter 27, A Wish. That night, in the small dark hut that she shared with Uncle and the sheep, Meg tried to speak of what she had seen. Uncle, she said, eh, I saw some human stars today. How's that? I saw them all glittering and glowing, and there was a little princess wearing her own crown and riding on a little white tippy-toed horse. What are ye going on about? Said Uncle. I saw a king and queen and an itty-bitty princess, shouted Meg. So? Shouted Uncle back. I would like, Meg said shyly. I wish to be one of them princesses. Ha ha! Laughed Uncle. Har! An ugly, dumb thing like you? You ain't even worth the enormous lot I paid for you. Remember, he only paid cigarettes, a red tablecloth, and a hen. That wasn't a lot. Don't I wish every night that I had back that good hen and that red tablecloth in place of you? He did not wait for Mig to guess the answer to this question. I do, he said. I wish it every night. That tablecloth was the color of blood. The hen could lay eggs like nobody's business. I want to be a princess, said Mig. I want to wear a crown. A crown? Uncle laughed. She wants to wear a crown. He laughed harder. He took the empty kettle and put it on top of his head. Look at me, he said. I'm a king. See my crown? I'm a king just like I always wanted to be. I'm a king because I want to be one. He danced around the hut with the kettle on his head. He laughed until he cried. And then he stopped dancing and took the kettle from his head and looked at Mig and said, Do you want a good clout to the ear for such nonsense? No, Uncle. Thank you. No, thank you, Uncle, said Mig. But she got one anyway. Look here, said Uncle after the clout had been delivered. We will hear no more talk of princesses. Besides, whoever asked you what you wanted in this world, girl? The answer to that question, reader, as well as you know, was absolutely no one. Chapter 28, To the Castle. Years passed. Mig spent them scrubbing the kettle and tending the sheep and cleaning the hut and collecting innumerable, uncountable, extremely painful clouts to the ear. In the evening, spring or winter, summer or fall, Meg stood in the field as the sun set, hoping the royal family would pass before her again. Gor, I would like to see that little princess another time, wouldn't I? And her little pony, too, with his tippy-toed feet. This hope, this wish that she would see the princess again was lodged deep in Mig's heart. Lodged firmly right next to it was the hope that she, Miggery Sow, could somehow become a princess herself. The first of Mig's wishes was granted, in a roundabout way, when King Philip outlawed soup. The king's men were sent out to deliver the grim news, to collect from the people of the kingdom of Dor their kettles, their spoons, and their bowls. Reader, you know exactly how and why this law came to pass. So you would not be as surprised as Uncle when one Sunday a soldier of the king knocked on the door of the hut that Mig and Uncle and the sheep shared and announced that soup was against the law. How's that? Said Uncle. By royal order of King Philip, repeated the soldier, I am sent here to tell you that soup has been outlawed in the kingdom of Dor. You will, by order of the king, never again consume soup, nor will you think of it or talk about it. And I, as one of the king's royal servants, am here to take from you your spoons, your kettle, and your bowls. But that can't be, said Uncle. Nevertheless, it is. What'll we eat? And what'll we eat it with? Cake, suggested the soldier, with a fork. And wouldn't that be lovely, said Uncle, if we could afford to eat cake? The soldier shrugged. I'm only doing my duty. Please hand over those spoons, your bowls, and your kettle. Uncle grabbed hold of his beard. He let go of his beard and grabbed the hair on his head. Unbelievable, he shouted. I suppose next the king will be wanting my sheep and my girl, seeing as those are the only possessions I have left. Do you own a girl? Said the soldier. I do, said Uncle, a worthless one, but still, she is mine. Ah, said the soldier, that, I'm afraid, is against the law, too. No human may own another in the kingdom of Dor. But I paid for her fair and square with a good laying hen, a handful of cigarettes, and a blood-red tablecloth. No matter, said the soldier. It is against the law to own one another. Now, you will hand her over to me. If you please, your spoons, your bowls, your kettle, and your girl. Or if you choose not to hand over these things, then you will come with me to be imprisoned in the castle dungeon. Which will it be? And that is how Miggery Sow came to be sitting in the wagon full of soup-related items next to a soldier of the king. Do you have parents? Said the soldier. I will return you to them. Eh? Ma, shouted the soldier. Dead, said Mig. Your pa? Shouted the soldier. I haven't seen him since he sold me. Right, I'll take you to the castle then. Poor, said Mig, looking around the wagon in confusion. You want me to paddle? To the castle, shouted the soldier. I'll take you to the castle. They have to shout because you can't hear very well. The castle where the itty-bitty princess lives? That's right. Poor, said Mig. I am to be a princess too someday. That's a fine dream, said the soldier. He clucked to the horse and tapped the reins, and they took off. I'm happy to be going, said Mig, putting a hand up and gently touching one of her cauliflower ears. Might just as well be happy, seeing as it don't make a difference to anyone but you if you are or not, said the soldier. We will take you to the castle, and they will set you up fine. You no longer will be a slave. You will be a paid servant. Eh? Said Mig. You will be a servant, shouted the soldier, not a slave. Gore, said Mig, satisfied. A servant I will be, not a slave. She was 12 years old. Her mother was dead. Her father had sold her. Her uncle, who wasn't her uncle at all, had clouded her until she was almost deaf. And she wanted, more than anything in the world, to be a little princess wearing a gold crown and riding a high-stepping white horse. Reader, do you think that is a terrible thing to hope when there is really no reason to hope at all? Or is it, as the soldier said about happiness, something that you might just as well do, since in the end, it really makes no difference to anyone but you? So we're stopping there for today. We'll start with chapter 29, start with the curtsy and finish with the thread. Okay. Have a wonderful day, evening, whenever it is that you're listening to this. And remember, I love you.